The original Minecraft Skyblock map has just been deleted, and after almost 15 years, can no longer be downloaded from its original source. After a 5.5 year long lawsuit behind the scenes involving 11 large Minecraft marketplace companies and Microsoft, a conclusion to the legal battle over the Skyblock trademark has been reached. Skyblock is Minecraft's most famous map, and also the most famous player creation to come out of the game. It has appeared in thousands of YouTube videos by every famous Minecraft YouTuber under the sun, and even PewDiePie himself, with tens of millions of downloads all over the internet, and countless servers running it or variations of it as a game mode, including Hypixel, and the rights to it have just been stolen from its original creator by Microsoft themselves. Now, any company can continue uploading paid versions of the Skyblock world to the Minecraft marketplace, falsely advertising themselves as the original and making millions of dollars in the process, as they have for years now. The ramifications of this lawsuit for the original creator of Skyblock, after years of litigation and extensive legal costs, as well as the Minecraft community as a whole, are very unfortunate as well. But hold on, when did this all happen? Well, back in October 2024, you might remember I made this video where I discussed the entire ongoing legal battle between Noob Crew, the creator of Skyblock, as well as the owner of the Skyblock.net server, and Microsoft, as well as a variety of other Minecraft marketplace partners. To briefly summarize, since it's been a while, Noob Crew released Skyblock all the way back in September of 2011, of which he has freely allowed players to download, modify, and to use on servers for years since, began the process of trademarking the name Skyblock in September 2019. Now, to be clear, Noob Crew wasn't trademarking the Skyblock concept or the actual map file, just the name Skyblock. Which begs the question, why after all these years was he only at the time in 2019 finally trademarking the map? And that's because, beginning in August of 2019, many Minecraft marketplace content production companies such as Razzleberries had begun selling the Skyblock map on the Minecraft marketplace for as high as $5 to $6. Noob Crew disliked this, as while he has always been fine with people making modifications or releasing their own versions of the map for free on Java, he disliked that a company was profiting off his creation. Furthermore, the other thing he disliked was that many of these Skyblock marketplace maps that would continue releasing throughout 2020 as well would claim to be the one and only Skyblock experience, Vanilla Skyblock, Classic Skyblock, or the original, which was misleading and false advertising to drive greater sales and profits. These companies would even release trailers and videos promoting their maps claiming similar, to which many players would comment confused that the map they saw wasn't the original, despite being advertised as such. Many Skyblock maps doing the exact same would continue releasing throughout 2020, and they were making an insane amount of money too. This first one here by Razzleberries, for example, has over 44,000 ratings now today, meaning at absolute minimum it has made about $260,000, and since every person who buys the map likely won't rate it, it's likely significantly more. Noob Crew estimated the map had made potentially as high as $4.5 million based on a ratio of about 45% of purchasers leaving a rating, industry standard for mobile and game platforms. So that's why Noob Crew initially went to file a trademark, as if accepted, he would have the legal ability to make these companies change the names of their products and remove certain misleading advertising. But in January 2021, a mere days away from the Skyblock trademark being accepted, a variety of Minecraft marketplace companies who had their own Skyblock maps, as well as Microsoft themselves, would move to legally oppose it, claiming that Skyblock is a generic term and that Noob Crew should lose all intellectual property and trademark rights to the name. Their main claims, which would be presented in the lawsuit later on, was that Noob Crew made no effort to protect or enforce Skyblock until 2020, and alleged the trademark filing was motivated by the growing commercial success of secondary market sales. Their main arguments simply boiled down to the fact that Noob Crew's failure over about 8 years to enforce trademark rights to Skyblock constituted abandonment, as it had caused the term to become a generic name that players no longer associated with the original creator or map. This was despite the fact that after the trademark was initially opposed, Noob Crew even tried to compromise, stating the community content consisting of maps, mods, and servers would remain unaffected, and that use of the Skyblock name within the marketplace could have been acceptable if it used secondary meanings such as Infinity Skyblock and avoided misleading users regarding originality or source. This was his attempt to find middle ground if his rights were to be established, but those proposals were rejected on the basis that he should not have any rights tied to the name whatsoever. These companies maintained their opposition, as they knew that if forced to change their map names and remove misleading descriptions, they could jeopardize their revenue, which for some was upwards of hundreds of thousands, if not several millions of dollars. So a legal battle therefore began. Okay, so now you're caught up to speed. What's happened in the 5.5-year-long legal battle since? Well, before we get into that, consider subscribing. I had to read through a long 81-page legal document for this video, so it would be much appreciated. No pressure, of course. Anyways, as of this video, there are now 874 maps with the name Skyblock on the marketplace, all being sold for real money. It seems like nothing has changed. And that's because on May the 11th, about 2 weeks ago now, the trademark dispute would come to its conclusion and a ruling would be made, of which Noob Crew made a post on the forums of his Minecraft server about. Unfortunately, on May 11th, the US Trademark Trial and Appeal Board issued its final decision in favor of Microsoft and the 11 Minecraft marketplace companies opposing my Skyblock trademark application, which I originally filed for in late 2019. Noob Crew had lost the legal battle, with the US Trademark Office concluding that Skyblock is merely descriptive of a type of Minecraft gameplay rather than identifying a single source, further mentioning that the evidence Noob Crew provided did not prove that Skyblock as a term was distinctive enough to be exclusively tied to him. Let's go through the actual 81-page long final decision document to see what the key points are. First of all, the court deemed that Microsoft and the other opposing marketplace companies did have legal entitlement to oppose the trademark. In the case of Microsoft operated within the same gaming ecosystem since they own Minecraft obviously, and would be affected if Noob Crew's rights were established. In regards to the other 11 marketplace companies, only Aurora, Sapphire Studios, Spark Squared, and Razzleberries were determined to be entitled to challenge the trademark, whereas the other 7 were dismissed, and thus were not considered to be properly involved with Skyblock content. The main claim provided by Microsoft and the remaining opposing companies was that Skyblock's third-party use throughout the years no longer made it distinct, arguing that it did not have a secondary meaning tied to Noob Crew, and that Skyblock was merely descriptive of a broader category of floating island survival gameplay rather than the original creation itself. The evidence they provided for this were the countless third-party maps, servers, and content that merely featured an island comprised of blocks in the sky, even mentioning how Skyblock had spilled over into other games beyond Minecraft, like Roblox, Fortnite, and more. Their key point here was the defining feature of Skyblock worlds is that they begin on a small island floating in the sky that is composed of a limited cluster of blocks, and the player must expand the island by acquiring and placing additional blocks in the sky, and that the Minecraft community and gaming community at large ascribe precisely this meaning to the Skyblock term, overall making the point that Skyblock is a descriptive term used by countless third parties to refer to virtual worlds and maps that feature islands comprised of blocks in the sky, games and minigames played in such worlds, game modes through which players interact with such worlds, as well as servers through which players can connect to a virtual world and/or game or minigame, and not a term that describes Noob Crew's original creation. If you scroll further down the document, you'll see Microsoft and thus the opposing companies have provided the court with screenshot examples of servers using the term Skyblock, as well as voting websites allowing users to filter by Skyblock servers, and they use this in conjunction with dozens of other online mentions of Skyblock as evidence that Skyblock is a generic, non-distinct term used widely and generically online. But the thing is, much of this evidence was extremely poor, often just pages of random screenshots that did not even mention the phrase Skyblock, which, as the court stated, we are struck by what so many of the printouts do not show, the term Skyblock. In many of these screenshots, the word Skyblock does not appear in the screenshot itself or even in the URL. Rather, Skyblock appears only in the name Gaming Group Proposers added above the screenshots themselves. Furthermore, some of the website printouts introduced by Microsoft as evidence that included articles, online forums, and social media posts regarding Skyblock were a bit of a hodgepodge, as stated by the Trademark Office. This list of evidence even included some sort of listings from eBay and Amazon, bizarrely. The final part of the document relates to Noob Crew's usage of Skyblock itself. While the opposition attempted to claim that Noob Crew offered no evidence of sufficient media coverage of the Skyblock trademark, essentially claiming that besides his own website, Noob Crew did not advertise or promote Skyblock as his at all, which Noob Crew claimed was because advertising was not necessary or ever needed due to organic searches, the court did find substantial evidence of YouTube videos and Planet Minecraft maps where older YouTubers and creators who first played Skyblock would credit him as the creator of the map. And while they acknowledge that these YouTube videos amassed hundreds of millions of views and provided evidence of Noob Crew Skyblock being the original map showcased in the video, they have no way to know when these videos got views, and argued that the popularity of those videos alone was not enough to establish that the public associated the term Skyblock as identifying with a singular source, rather than what they described as simply the first and most well-known entry in a much larger category that later developed around the name. Essentially, all that they are claiming here is that while Noob Crew Skyblock was credited as the source in lots of the first media and content surrounding surrounding Skyblock online, they do not think Noob Crew was successful in educating the public to associate Skyblock with one source, that being him and his original map. The latest statements in this document mention that the court is far more persuaded by the number of Skyblock labeled servers, where even though many millions of gamers have watched YouTube videos attributing Skyblock to Noob Crew, they are still convinced that consumer perception is largely that Skyblock is merely perceived as a type of gameplay, no longer fully associated to Noob Crew. They were sympathetic to Noob Crew's position, acknowledging that he created a beloved part of the Minecraft universe and that he coined the term Skyblock, but ultimately concluded that consumers did not primarily recognize Skyblock as indicating a single source, but instead viewed it as a term describing a map or style of gameplay. And therefore, the official ruling was that Skyblock was merely descriptive and had not acquired sufficient distinctiveness or secondary meaning to function as a trademark identifying Noob Crew as the singular source. It seems the case did not clarify whether Skyblock was in fact generic, but rather descriptive. The real issue came down to whether the name had become recognized by the public as identifying Noob Crew as the original source after more than a decade of use and recognition. Under trademark law, descriptive terms can still receive protection if they acquire enough source recognition. Minecraft is considered descriptive too, as it has the combination of mine and craft, which are prominent elements to describe its gameplay, but players associate such descriptive terms with Microsoft or Mojang, whereas Skyblock is not associated with Noob Crew as the court deemed. There's a lot more in this document that I've linked below, which you can read if you want. Alright, but enough of reading through the case now. What does this all mean, and what was Noob Crew's response? Well, understandably, it was pretty crushing for Noob Crew, who had poured over 5 years into this lawsuit, and noted that it was a great deal of stress. He also racked up $350,000 in legal debt, which he claims he barely made a dent in, and thousands of hours of his own time into this trademark dispute as a result. He states, "I did not know how long this process would take, and it often felt like the case was continuously dragged out. I was always open to conversation, compromise, or mutual understanding to stop this years ago." In Noob Crew's post, he mentions that he believes the decision was inaccurate or misunderstood, since user-generated content is still relatively new in the gaming industry, and the open modding-focused culture of Minecraft was used to twist the narrative. Specifically, he mentions that Microsoft and the marketplace companies persuaded the decision in their favor by relying heavily on examples such as the usage of the term Skyblock for multiplayer servers, along with fan-created maps shared on platforms like Planet Minecraft as part of their defense. Noob Crew believes these arguments aren't valid, as Microsoft and Mojang don't have full control over the Minecraft server ecosystem. For example, for years now, servers have used trademark names such as Hunger Games, Grand Theft Auto, and more from major franchises to refer to servers and game modes. Copyrighted characters and IPs still roam freely on modified Minecraft servers. So how could Noob Crew himself have done the same, if not more than these major corporations, to prevent all this content and servers using Skyblock from being made, if these large companies themselves were unsuccessful? He mentions that, if anything, his lack of attempts to take actions on Minecraft servers which use the Skyblock concept for years, something which is very much in the community spirit of Minecraft, was actually only used against him to show his abandonment of the trademark. The Minecraft marketplace and its partners have used Minecraft's early community and user-generated content culture, whereby everyone shared their creations freely and did not attempt to copyright or trademark what they had made to their own commercial advantage. It's also worth remembering that the Minecraft marketplace did not exist at the time, so players just believed this was how user-generated content within Minecraft worked, and they had no reason to believe anything different. They had no way of knowing a paid platform exclusive to limited companies would come in the future. The lawsuit is also very interesting in regards to what it means for the wider Minecraft community, which Noob Crew also has some notable points on. In the Minecraft EULA, it is mentioned that for game modifications, what you create from scratch belongs to you, and you can do whatever you want with them as long as you don't try to make money from them. Similar is mentioned under the content heading below, which mentions that your content remains your content, and that Microsoft do not own the original things players create. They even specifically give the example that your creation of a Gothic cathedral with a roller coaster running through it wouldn't be owned by Microsoft, but would instead be owned by you. Yet, as Noob Crew states, he feels the outcome of this case demonstrates the opposite, and that creators do not truly own what they create. Noob Crew did create the Skyblock map, including its layout, structure, and gameplay after all. So why doesn't that same Gothic cathedral roller coaster logic apply here too? He coined the term Skyblock, as the trademark board confirmed, and he has been a part of the community for over 14 years, providing the official Skyblock website and multiplayer servers. So now, what's stopping any marketplace partners from ripping off popular Java Edition maps, mods, and other content, and then selling it for a profit on the marketplace? They are the only ones allowed to make money from user-generated content after all, as previously mentioned in the EULA. It seems like if a user's content is stolen and sold, and they try to go the route of Noob Crew to enforce a trademark, it's probably safe to say that it's unlikely to work. In Noob Crew's post, he also talks about similar. Minecraft marketplace content isn't exactly the most high quality, and often much of it is based off trends and other popular IPs or names. This isn't to say all marketplace companies are to blame, but certainly some of the largest marketplace content companies just mass produce other content or steal ideas from one another to generate as much revenue as they can. The original creators or owners of these ideas and content have no power over these large companies, with large teams backed by Microsoft, and thus can't do anything to stop the over-commercialization and theft of what they've made. There are two notable examples of this occurring in the past. One where the famous Faithful texture pack was stolen and sold on the marketplace, and another where the Aether mod was entirely stolen and marketed as the original on the marketplace too, now known as the Ether. If Noob Crew's trademark was accepted, this is exactly the type of content he would have been able to stop. His goal was never to restrict others from using the Skyblock name or prevent people from freely using the map as they please, as they did on Java for years, but to prevent certain marketplace companies from using the name of Skyblock in unacceptable ways where players were falsely advertised to or misled. Since many of the assets, textures, and core elements of Minecraft belong to Minecraft itself, in reality, one of the only forms of legal ownership or protection a Minecraft creator may be able to establish is through the name and branding associated with their original creation, after all. Realistically, Noob Crew faced an extremely insurmountable task. Microsoft and all the companies involved in the lawsuit have infinitely more resources and money to drag out the case, which they did. Noob Crew, as mentioned, did try to resolve the matter and to find common ground, even permitting marketplace content to keep using the Skyblock name if used with a secondary meaning, and if they stopped falsely advertising themselves as originals, but all such proposals were declined. As he stated, "I would have never interfered with fan-created Minecraft maps, servers, mods, or essentially anything within Minecraft itself other than the misleading marketplace products. I could have easily worked with these companies to put my intentions into writing in whatever legal way was possible, and they were fully aware of this but decided not to." The arguments by Microsoft and others were never truly about protecting Skyblock for the fan community. They knew that the combined financial pressure would cause Noob Crew to eventually give up. They used some dirty techniques during the lawsuit too. For example, during the case, as Noob Crew mentions, Microsoft conducted a survey of random respondents that have played sandbox games, asking them if they associate Skyblock with a content creator. But instead of listing Noob Crew's name as his publicly known name, Noob Crew, they instead listed him as his company, Mineverse, which obviously is not publicly recognized. This is despite including other famous YouTubers' names too. They used this as an argument to demonstrate that Skyblock isn't associated with Noob Crew or a single source, despite not including Noob Crew as a response option in the survey whatsoever. Furthermore, Microsoft even used a website called wminecraft.net as evidence that someone named Vadim Goose Zhevetsov made Skyblock in January 2011 before Noob Crew. But if you go to this website, you'll see it's clearly some dodgy mod re-upload website that is stealing content to farm ad revenue. That is extremely underhanded, especially considering the fact that the domain wminecraft.net is attempting to imitate Minecraft.net, which for some reason Microsoft is fine with here. And speaking of Microsoft, it's not like they don't benefit from this case either. As we briefly touched on, there are hundreds of Skyblock maps being sold on the marketplace. Razzleberries has seemingly made millions of dollars from theirs alone, all of which Microsoft of course gets a 63% cut of according to Noob Crew. In 2022, during the lawsuit, Microsoft even officially made Skyblock a marketplace category and released an official Skyblock pack containing a Skyblock map which claimed to be the original, ironically in partnership with two of the companies part of the lawsuit. Noob Crew claims that this was done intentionally to reinforce the narrative that Skyblock was generic and was a calculated move conducted to influence public perception in favor of Microsoft. When the filing for the trademark first began in 2019, Skyblock was more tied to Noob Crew than a general genre as it is today, and much of the reaction from Reddit and Twitter users surrounding the case who are unaware of all the details slightly demonstrate that change. Ultimately, the large marketplace companies of Microsoft have boosted Skyblock's popularity immensely while putting Noob Crew's trademark concerns into litigation for over 5 years, and now know that they have an even greater ability to steal other popular user-created Minecraft content and sell it on the marketplace while falsely advertising it, and nothing will happen to them as they clearly have influence and involvement with Microsoft to protect them. With the conclusion to this case, Noob Crew has lost all rights to his creation, making it impossible for him to grow Skyblock into something greater, or even its own game, as he's talked about before. As such, Noob Crew stated that in protest of the decision and the continued infringement within the Minecraft marketplace, he decided to remove his official and original downloads to the Skyblock maps that had existed since 2011 on his website, which combined on his site just alone had racked up over 12 million downloads. He did this not because of comments online or because he wants to try to upset the Minecraft community, but because because he doesn't want to contribute to the popularity and growth of Skyblock in a way that ultimately benefits Microsoft and the marketplace companies, and in hopes that there might be some sort of change as a result. He mentions that if there ever was, he would add the downloads back, and files of Skyblock can still be shared by others freely, of course. He has no problem with that. Thus, that concludes the 5.5-year legal battle between Noob Crew, the creator of Skyblock, the most famous map and creation in Minecraft history, as well as Microsoft and 11 other marketplace companies, of which has ended in a loss, ultimately resulting in a loss of rights by its original creator and the continued commercialization of Skyblock related content across the Minecraft marketplace well into the foreseeable future. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. It took a lot of work. Thank you all so much for watching.